Oh hey, I didn't see you guys there. My name is David Kiley, your half Irish, half Spanish resident tour guide, and today I'll be taking you on a journey to the north of Ireland. That's right folks, today not only will we be exploring the Antrim coast in Northern Ireland, but we'll also be exploring Donegal, the northernmost county of the Republic of Ireland. My best friend Benedict Kendrick from Armagh will be bringing us on an adventure of his homeland while I will be taking you on an adventure of mine. Then you folks can decide which one has the more beautiful sights. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. Take it away, Ben.
Oh hey folks, didn't see you there. My name's Ben Ken, and I'm born and bred in Armagh. My co-host, who you haven't met already, is David Kiley. During our 2 days in Northern Ireland, we travelled along the Antrim coast, one of the most beautiful coastlines in Northern Ireland. Now, just give me a second, I'll welcome you to Ireland with a bit of Irish, which I seem to have forgotten. Mór sin, sí siar, ligda sí, agus tar our tourist lum con in UK, Yennever, who is skirt Aaron Edok.
After picking the lads from the airport, we headed towards the coast but stopped by the Dark Hedges on the way there. The Dark Hedges were made famous in the show Game of Thrones, where it was known as the King's Road. "90 beech trees line this road, creating a canopy of twisting branches overhead. The Dark Hedges are truly hauntingly beautiful. We then drove off to Ballycastle Harbour to catch our boat ride to the incredible Rathlin Island. But before we got on our ferry, we had our lunch and enjoyed the amazing scenery of Ballycastle Beach, its harbour and the surrounding area. The weather was perfect, with bright blue skies reflecting off the ocean, resulting in a deep blue water. This really made it an ideal day for a picnic. After lunch, we then made our way on to the Rathlin Island ferry, setting sail for the eventual destination of Rathlin Island. The waves were choppy, and we even got a little wet. It was about a 30-minute boat ride, and as the boat sailed towards Rathlin Island, we were treated with a gorgeous view of the Antrim coastline we were leaving behind. As we approached Rathlin Island, it was truly a sight to behold. The white cliffs, the soft sand, and the beautiful harbour grew bigger and bigger in front of our very own eyes. Upon dismounting the ferry, we headed off to the bike rental shop, which was how we decided to explore this new island. Amidst the rugged beauty of this island, we were able to let our minds wander and discover a tranquility and beauty that was so uninspected. We also happened to come during the puffin season. Rathlin Island is a popular spot for puffins to come and visit every April to July, and we could not wait to have a look at one of these beauties. We hopped on our bikes and started off our cycle. Now, let me tell you now that the cycle on Rathlin Island was not an easy one at all, so it was. There were many steep uphill slopes, especially towards the Seabird Centre, which was our first stop. We were already exhausted from a 7 a.m. flight where we barely had any sleep the night before. However, the perfect weather, coupled with our positive attitudes, gave us the energy to conquer the island on our bikes. As we cycled, we passed through many farmlands and gave us the opportunity to meet many of their residents. There were cows, lambs, sheep, and cutest of all were the little calves that followed around the mummy cows everywhere. Our journey up to the Seabird Centre consisted of many uphills and downhills, which forced us to take many breaks along the way to catch our breath. As we finally approached the Seabird Centre, we were able to catch a glimpse of the rugged sea cliffs, which were completely filled with birds flying everywhere and nesting on the edges of the rocks. I can honestly say I've never seen so many birds in one place in all my life. We eventually reached the Seabird Centre, where we paid a small fee and were allowed onto the viewing platform just off the edge of the lighthouse. The lighthouse is also known as the Upside Down Lighthouse. There was a small exhibition at the lighthouse to educate us about the birds before we exited onto the viewing platform.
Lounge of the sea, clown of the land.
From the viewing platform, we were also able to appreciate Ireland's largest seabird colony. And indeed, one of the largest seabird colonies in the UK. The view was amazing, though the smell of the birds definitely wasn't. Every year, thousands of seabirds return to breed here, including guillemots, razorbills, kittiwakes, fulmars and puffins. The sights and sounds of so many seabirds at such close quarters is an experience you'll never forget. There were even kind staff who were experienced bird watchers stationed there to give any who would ask binoculars to admire the birds close up close views, sounds of 10,000s of birds including the puffins, razorbills, guillemots, fulmars and kittiwakes congregating is like nothing else. After we left the Seabird Centre, we made our way down back to the other end of the island. This was another tedious cycle up and down the hills, which resulted in us perspiring profusely. This time, we were headed towards the very east of the island in search of a seal colony, which was even further east than the rental shop where we'd picked up our bikes. So we braced ourselves for an even longer and even more tiring cycle. However, it didn't feel as tiring as before, as most slopes were downhill this time, and we were able to enjoy the breathtaking views of the sea and scenery along the way as a result. We eventually reached a rugged road where our bikes could no longer travel on, and continued on foot towards the sea colony. We eventually found an old ruin of what seemed to be used as an old castle of some sort by the coast, which gave us a dramatic view of the Antrim coast. And just by the shore we noticed him. Not one, not two, but a whole colony of seals sitting right there. The smell might have been unbearable, but we braved it to get a view of those lovely seals, the dogs of the sea. There were many of them just sunbathing along the coast, and it was truly spectacular. After we'd spent some time admiring the seals, we decided we'd had enough of our gander and decided to head back and get ready to catch the ferry. Of course, we had to check out the gift store first to find some memorabilia to remember this place. We waited at the Rathlin Island port for our ferry and admired the beautiful views of the Rathlin Island coast, the rugged coast made of white rock, kind of similar to the view of the Seven Sisters in the UK, different but spectacular in its own little way. Our ferry came as the sun started to hide behind the clouds, and we headed back towards Ballycastle. That sums up our first day in Northern Ireland. It wasn't until the evening where we spent our first night in Belfast in a B&B where Dom whipped out his spatula, pots and pans and made us his usual huge juicy burgers again.
Although I'm usually a fan of Dom's cooking, this time it took the biscuit, or should I say burger. He cooked 2 greasy large burgers. After finishing what was on my plate, I was fit to explode. I was fit like a centipede sock drawer. However, the only thing that exploded that night was the toilet bowl.
The next day, we set off early in the morning to explore the Gobbins Cliff Path.
Welcome to the Gobbins.
On my way, on my way, on my way, on my way.
We set off to the visitor centre, where we would be first given a short safety briefing and then on to don our helmets and travel via shuttle bus towards the Gobbins Cliffs. We dismounted the bus and our little tour group all headed towards the edge of the cliffs, in our hiking boots, helmets on for safety. As we headed toward the cliff path, our tour guide stopped us many times to tell us many interesting stories about the history of the Gobbins Cliffs. The Gobbins Cliff lies on the very edge of the Irish sea lines. It is one of the best kept secrets along Northern Ireland's Causeway coastal route. This dramatic and challenging cliff face combines spectacular tubular and suspension bridges, caves, steps and tunnels carved through the rock. Originally built in 1902, the Gobbins Cliff Path was once more popular than the Giant's Causeway. Today, this phenomenal feat of engineering has been reimagined for the 21st century to bring new generations ever closer to the coast. We entered the cliff path through a small opening in the rocks, which was fitted with a locked door. We then took our adventure through the man-made cliff path as we admired the dramatic cliffs and the waves crashing against it. We passed through a series of bridge after bridge as we slowly made it around the cliff's edge, walking and admiring the surrounding beauty at the same time. The bridges were unique and sturdy and really gave us a good view of the surrounding cliff edge and the Atlantic Ocean stretching out as far as the eye could see. It was truly an awe-inspiring sight. The rock right here is known as the Dragon's Head due to its resemblance of one. We even went through a dark cave where it was almost pitch black inside and the walls were low. No wonder we had to don our helmets for this walk.
Dry on the inside and the water is on the outside.
Eventually, we reached the end of the cliff walk, where we saw a huge colony of seabirds gathered there. Though it was not as many as Rathlin Island, it was still a spectacular sight, and the smell of the birds was extremely strong as well. We then headed back to the visitor centre after a long 2-hour walk, where we would have a short look at the exhibition before heading off to a nearby shop called the Rinka for some famous ice cream. We had gelatos and our big man Mr. David Kiley got strawberry ice cream. Doesn't he look like a right cutie pie? He's single, by the way, so please slide into his DMs if you're interested.
Don't forget, I'm single too. And I'm mixed. Well, David's mixed too. But if you prefer some Eastern persuasion, I'm your man.
After our delicious gelato, we headed off to our next stop, the Chain Memorial Tower. The Chain Memorial Tower, also known as the Pencil, for obvious reasons. Although it looked more like the horn of an absolute stallion to me. It's an impressive beacon tower of Irish granite, built in 1887 as a memorial for James Chain, the developer of Larne Harbour. It stands on the western side of Larne Loch, at the entrance to the harbour, and can be seen by visitors coming in by sea. We then continued driving along the Antrim coast, where we had a breathtaking view of the sea. It was an incredible sight we had by our windows for the entire drive, and our eyes were glued to the scenery the entire time. We even drove through a black arch, which is said to guard the picturesque glens of Antrim. We then continued on our drive along the coast, where we would eventually reach the beautiful Carnlough Harbour. This was where we would stop for lunch. We had incredible views of the ocean from the harbour. Carnlough Harbour is one of the must-see stop-offs along the Giant's Causeway coastal route, especially for Game of Thrones fans. It was one of the filming locations for the show.
Oh, hey there again. After we went to a petrol station, I asked a lad down there where the jacks were. To my surprise, he didn't know what a jacks was. Now, for those of you that don't know, it's an island-wide slang that refers to the loo, bathroom, whatever you want to call it. But this man didn't know what I was talking about, so the lads gave me O end of ribbon. But just for your own knowledge, jacks means loo, bathroom. Catch you later.
We continued our journey along the coast through yet another dramatic sea arch to another Game of Thrones site. This time, the Cushenden Caves. It was here that Melisandre gave birth to the terrible Killer Shadow. The Cushenden Caves were formed over 400 million years of extreme weather, which gave rise to these amazing caves, and the complex was even more massive than we expected when we explored the inside. Just walking in gave me chills down my spine as the temperature dropped significantly, and walking through the dark, eerie corners of the caves, you had no idea what could be around the next one. As we continued our journey, this is when the weather started to turn. Suddenly the coast was covered with an insanely thick fog and rain slowly started to pour. But we still wanted to visit Tor Head, so we went ahead with it. The wind started to pick up speed and the rain was getting heavier as we embarked on our short hike up to Tor Head. Usually, the top of Tor Head has an unreal view of the rugged headlands, dramatic cliffs and the vast ocean. But sadly it was hidden by the fog today, although here and there we'd get a faint sight of the Antrim coast. Safe to say, luck wasn't on our side today. We then set off from the Tor Head as we decided to skip the Carrick-a-Raid rope bridge because of weather and headed straight towards Donegal.
I'm so glad I was able to take this opportunity to show you round my homeland, my country, Northern Ireland. Over this wee journey, you've seen countless things and heard many stories, but this next instalment will follow David Kiley onto his homeland. Now, before I leave you, I have a little story about one of my favourite places in Northern Ireland, well actually Donegal. It starts in a little village called Muff. Now, for those of you who don't know, Muff is slang for a slightly naughty part of our anatomy, but it is a real village that exists in Donegal, and my biggest aspiration is to go there and get the Muff Diving Club membership, and then I'll be a certified Muff diver. Anyway, see you in the next one. Now, before I let you leave, I should end with a language of the First Nations in Ireland. So I'll get my phone out and just remind myself how to say it all in Irish. Bear with me. E nori a tom egg eerie goshta a kurer wuban kailafane slán live. This is BK from the North signing off. See yous on the next one.
Oh hey, I didn't see you guys there. What are you doing? It's me again, your favourite British-born Irish. It's time for me to take over from Ben now, because it's coming home, it's coming home, football's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming home, football's coming home. But now let's continue on our journey to Donegal in the Republic of Ireland. Our first stop on the way to our Airbnb from Northern Ireland on our second day was to the Granon of Alloch. Forgive my pronunciation if it's wrong. The stone fort of Granon of Alloch sits on a hilltop in Inishowen in County Donegal. At 250 metres above sea level, the stone fort was probably first built on an earthen rath. The view from Alloch is breathtaking. The glistening waters of Lough Foyle and Lough Swilly are clear, as is the form of the entire peninsula. A windy and exposed place, Grenon has been a silent witness to the history of Ireland. The origins of the Grenon of Alloch fort are dated all the way back to 1700 BC, probably about 5 years after our very own Dr. Joshua Chew of Fryersland was born. He's pretty ancient too. Doesn't the Grenon of Alloch kind of look like a football stadium? Kinda like Wembley, where the pride of London, Brentford, won their first playoffs. Sadly, England wasn't able to bring it home, as 2 Red Devils missed their penalties and it would only possibly come home next year in Qatar. If only they put Ivan Toney of the best club in the world, Brentford, in the team. 0 penalties missed, 31 league goals, 2 in the playoffs. Southgate has got some homework to do. Which brings me to the question of the day. What kind of tea do English dislike? This got me going, you know. The penalty. We then stopped by Letterkenny for dinner, where we would sit outside St. Eunan's Cathedral with our subways for dinner. Cathedral of St. Eunan and St. Columba is County Donegal's only Catholic cathedral. That's mad. Letterkenny encompasses the best of Donegal. It's a vibrant town full of history and great nights out. We went back to the Bridgeburn B&B where we would spend an absolutely beautiful night in the most beautiful gardens, in the most beautiful family room. Funny enough, the host thought me and Ben were Dom and Chloe's children sleeping in the car. Ha ha ha. No, but it actually was like that, and it was true. And I think we were sleeping. So it really was a night to remember, where I would stay up until about 3 a.m. having a heart-to-heart with my best friend Ben Ken. I actually think we started the conversation at 12:59 a.m. because it was 1-to-1. Get it? I'm such a comedian. Day 3, our depressing rainy day. We contemplated when we should leave the B&B, as it was absolutely pouring cats and dogs. Eventually, we decided just to pray to the rain gods and sing a little song and dance, and try our luck as we headed in the pouring rain towards our first stop. This is like Ireland welcoming me back home with typical Irish weather. We eventually reached Ballymastoker Beach. I'm sure it would have looked a lot more beautiful if we had good weather, but it still looked very impressive. Although most of us didn't want to get out of the car due to the rain, I just had to go out and snap a picture, also have a quick shower. Our next stop was Fanad Head Lighthouse. Just as our luck had it, it didn't stop raining. I've heard absolutely great things about Fanad Head Lighthouse. I've seen beautiful pictures, but we were unable to join the lighthouse in the good weather, sadly. The lighthouse was built following the shipwreck of the HMS Saldana in the waters of Lough Swilly in 1811. It is situated right at the tip of the coast of Fanad Head, as it majestically overlooks the massive Atlantic Ocean. We had to brave the rain and walk through the soggy muddy floor to get a better view of the lighthouse. and it was absolutely worth it. For our third stop of the day, we intended to go on an adventure and find the hidden secret beach called the Murder Beach Home. We drove all the way down to Melmore Head Peninsula in pursuit of it. The weather continued to pour as we kept our fingers crossed, hoping for better weather. On the way there, we decided to check out the views of Tranarison Bay, which was an amazing beach. Trust me, this picture and the weather does not do it justice at all. Testing. We actually spoke to a local who told us if we wanted to find that beach, we'd have to cross over some angry farmers' land in order to get to that beach. However, that farmer would kill us if we trespassed on his land. I'm just playing. If he did, we'd probably just leave Ben Ken there. We decided there was no point in doing any more sightseeing today in this terrible weather, so we decided to call it a day and head back to our B&B, Fincher B&B, which overlooked the beautiful Fincher Beach. Just a short note of Fincher B&B, this is probably, hands down for me, one of the nicest B&Bs with one of the nicest hosts, Kevin, or as we came to know him, Kevin. That's right, the Stairway to Heaven. When we visited the Stairway to Heaven, it was also the place where Rachel and Ryan got their idea for the name of their firstborn baby, Ballygolly Ong. Amazing. The B&B was simply amazing. It overlooked the entire Fincher Beach, and the host was very kind to get the fireplace set up, where we took shelter from the rain, dried up, and just enjoyed the view of Fincher Beach. Just look at the view. Isn't it stunning? We then went down to the beach to enjoy it and its amazing views. This long sandy beach stretches approximately 1 kilometer along the bay and is relatively sheltered due to its location. The extensive dunes behind the beach lead into the old Killybegs GAA pitch. The waters were very calm, and the sound of the soft waves slowly crashing against the shore was very calming. I could just listen to the waves and have a good nap. The sight of this immediately made me want to go in for a quick dip. The host even had kayaks, which he kindly allowed us to use. Ben and I decided to get our first swim in the Atlantic Ocean, while Dom decided to kayak. We were probably the only crazy people to decide to go and swim on a rainy, cold day, which I think was hailstoning at one point. But since the weather had already cleared up, although we thought, why not, right? There was even a beautiful rainbow that had appeared over the beach, which made the beach even more beautiful. The water was surprisingly not very cold. Well, still cold, just not half as cold as we expected it from the very cold day. The sands were soft and white, which made us feel as if we were walking on clouds. Chloe even decided to have a short jog down the beach. While we swam, Dom and Chloe went to the nearby town Killybegs to grab us some dinner from a scampi place recommended by Kevin and all the other guests. They drove a short 7-minute drive to Killybegs. Killybegs is the largest fishing port in the country and on the entire island of Ireland. The port looked amazing, and there were many huge fishing boats docked at the port. Not very sure why there's a Hungarian flag there, but it looked very majestic, flowing in the wind. After dinner, Dom decided he just had to go for a kayak adventure and decided to take the kayak out. His little solo expedition was such a leisurely kayak. The waters were calm, which made it a very easy kayaking session, and the risk of capsize very low. He even found a waterfall flowing into the sea nearby, hidden behind some of the small cliffs. There weren't many fish to be seen, though, as Dom tried to use his GoPro to find some. Overall, the views from the kayak of both Fincher Bay and the surrounding cliffs were stunning.
Good morning. I just wanted to say that
So there you have it, folks. That ends our first day. Well, it didn't really end there, because we stayed up until the wee hours of the morning talking to the lovely couple and Kevin. They even wanted to set me up with their daughter, who was coming to the B&B the next day, but unfortunately we had to leave and do our sightseeing the next day. Who knows what could have been. She could have been Mrs. Kylie, but then again, I have my lovely Aoife waiting for me back in Dublin. I wouldn't want her to get too jealous. Or would I? Nah, I'm such a loyal gentleman. The next day, we scheduled our first stop to be during low tide, so we could visit the secret waterfall, Largy Waterfall. We parked our car at Largy Viewpoint and made our way down to the Largy Cliffs by foot. Largy Waterfall is a waterfall where water is collected from nearby farmlands, and this drains into an impressive waterfall that falls into a sea cave, a bit like the Goonies. It is only accessible by foot during low tide. We were lucky we had good weather and a calm sea when we were visiting it, which made it a rather simple hike. We first had to walk through the farmlands and then along the base of the cliff towards the sea cave, which housed the hidden waterfall. Thank God all the rain from the day before had dried up, and the rocks weren't too wet, which made it a lot easier to walk from rock to rock towards the cave. It was a rather fun walk actually, where we had to hop from rock to rock and find our own path, which we deemed was the easiest. It was like playing a puzzle game, seeing which rocks fit our feet best and how we would get the easiest route there. After we had enough of the waterfall, we went to Mockross Head. Mockross Head is a narrow peninsula that nestles picturesquely against the slopes of a small mountain range. From the wild Atlantic Way, you have a beautiful view over the headland and the popular sandy beach. The cliffs of Mockross consisted of very unique layered rock, which is why it is very popular with climbers. The rock consists of horizontally layered sandstone with intervening thin layers of mudstone, which have been eroded away to produce horizontal breaks and overhangs. This is where we come from. From above you could even see a huge EIRE sign made in the rocks. Absolutely unreal. Overall, the backdrop of the Mockross Head with the beach and hill in the background was stunning.
I'll follow you into the park, through the jungle, through the dark. God, I never loved one like you. Boats and waterfalls, alleyways and payphone calls. I'll be here never out with you. We'll laugh until we think we'll die, barefoot on a summer night. Nothing new is sweeter than with you. And in the street we run free, like it's only you and me. Geez, got something to see. Oh, oh, let me go home. Home is forever out with you. Oh, oh, let me go home. Home is forever out with you.
The next stop, the highlight of the day. The tallest cliffs on the island of Ireland, Slieve League. Fun fact, Slieve League is actually not the tallest cliff in Ireland. That title belongs to the Crowan Cliffs on Achill Island. But it is, however, the tallest cliff on the mainland of Ireland. The Slieve League Cliffs are truly breathtaking. The cliff face of Bunglas rises over 600 meters above the raging ocean. We did a short hike up the Slieve League Cliffs, not all the way to the top, but we were already treated with amazing views of the cliffs. It was amazing. Even on the drive there, we had amazing views of the oceans and the surrounding cliffs. We even found another error sign. The next and final stop, Malin-Beg, or as some call it, the Silver Strand. Silver Strand Beach is the most dramatic beach in Donegal. It is a stunningly secluded bay that can be seen in all its glory from the car park. We took what must have been a flight of 200 stairs down to the sands of the beach, where Dom and I just had to go in for another swim. Surprisingly, though it was a warmer day, the waters were extremely cold, much colder than in Fincher Beach. After much contemplation, I decided to dive into the water like a little mermaid.
Let's go to this shit be like Friday nights. This shit made me feel alive. I feel like we in paradise. Paradise. Don't know if it's a drink I pour, but I swear I've never loved you more. Make you right here, I come alive. One more hit and we can fly. This shit feel like.
Don't I just look like a majestic mermaid? Like Aquaman. We spent a good almost 30 minutes swimming. Or at least I did. Dom got too scared of the cold and left after 5 minutes, leaving me alone with the jellyfish. On one end of the beach, there was even a huge waterfall that emptied its water right into the sea. The waters of the Silver Strand were crystal clear. It was as if I had magically teleported into the Maldives, or to the Caribbean, or to Treasure Island. Dom even tried to look for some basking sharks, and here is what he found. What he thought might have been a shark. I'm pretty sure it was just seaweed though. This marked the end of our trip, but we still had 2 more stops to break up our 5-hour journey back to Dublin. Our first stop, Donegal town. We had a look at the city square as we wandered around its shops and enjoyed this very cute county town. We then went over to have a look at Donegal Castle. It is a castle located in the very heart of the county town, towering over the River Esk. What a beautiful fortress it was. Lastly, we stopped at Cavan, where we would grab kebabs and pizzas for dinner at a local shop and drive over to the Cathedral of St. Patrick and Phelim to have our meals, where we could not only enjoy our meals, but have a lovely view of the beautiful cathedral in the heart of Cavan town. The cathedral towered over the entire of Cavan town, which just made it look absolutely massive. This is exactly how I feel when I hang out with my Singaporean friends, who I tower over like a big, friendly giant. What a trip. This might be my last trip with the gang. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the Sligo trip because of COVID restrictions, but this is as close as the last road trip I will get with the gang. Who knows, maybe Ryan will have me come back for another trip during his last year, but it wouldn't be quite the same, I don't think, without the rest. And this signifies the start of my life as Mr. Barrister Kylie, also I hope, where I'll start my life in London like Harvey Dent or Harvey Specter, whichever way you wish to call it, in my beautiful, pristine new suits. Hit it, Dom.
See the man who won't stay for you, getting all the piece of pie for your wife. Everybody wanna know how it feels. Everybody wanna see what it's like. Leaving you to be high, I don't mind. Me and this is so this is making money. Alright. Greenback boogie.
And that brings me to the end of the video. I wonder if, in another life, if I had stayed to meet the daughter of the guest in Fincher Beach? Would I have hit it off with her and maybe moved to Tyrone and work on the farm and raise those 16,000 chickens with her? But that's all wishful thinking, of course. For now, Aoife has my heart. And, well, it's time for me to head back to London.
I've been getting some sunshine lately. No more dealing with dark clouds daily. I've been closer with you, and I've been making some moves. Yeah, I've been feeling myself. Yeah, I don't need nothing else. I've been getting some sunshine lately. No more dealing with dark clouds daily. I've been closer with you, and I've been making some moves. Yeah, I've been feeling myself. Yeah, I don't need nothing else. I've been giving myself some time to grow. Even when I get down, I can call you my own. Make me forget everything, we don't need diamond rings. I'll give you the world, give you my everything. When you say I'm fine, I know you're being polite. But every time you fall, you know I'll break the fight. Don't need to know where you've been, just need to know if you're in. We can take the ride, just call me yours tonight. I've been getting some sunshine lately. No more dealing with dark clouds daily. I've been closer with you, and I've been making some moves. Yeah, I've been feeling myself. Yeah, I don't need nothing else. I've been getting some sunshine lately. No more dealing with dark clouds daily. I've been closer with you, and I've been making some moves. Yeah, I've been feeling myself. Yeah, I don't need nothing else. If this were last year, I'd feel empty. With you here with me, I feel plenty. Everything you do, you know I'll be cool. If you allow me to, you know I've been getting some sunshine lately. No more dealing with dark clouds daily. I've been closer with you,